Also winning a Cronkite Award for individual achievement by a national journalist is Jacob Soboroff of MSNBC and NBC News. Jacob was one of the first national reporters to break the story on the conditions of children separated from their parents at the border under the Trump administration's zero-tolerance policy. Though cameras were initially not allowed into detention centers, judges noted that he was able to explain the situation with clarity and descriptive analysis that was as powerful as any visual. He stayed with the story doggedly over time and kept it on the nation's agenda. His coverage helped push the Trump administration into a rare policy reversal. Clip.
Chris, I have been inside a federal prison before. I've been inside several county jails. This place is called a shelter, but effectively these kids are incarcerated. There are 1,400 of them, over 1,400 of them, that are spending not weeks, months inside this place. They're not actually literally in cages or in cells, but I kid you not, one of the first things an employee of the shelter said to me is, when we walked inside, can you try to smile at these kids? Because it's weird to see people from the outside. They feel like animals locked up in cages. And honestly, one of the most striking things that I saw when you go in there is that this place has a lot of American history all over the place. Quotes, inspirational quotes, I guess, from former presidents. And the first one that you see when you walk in is Donald Trump. Today, we got inside with another group of journalists for the first time. And what we saw, frankly, is as shocking as everything else that we have been seeing. And I want to be really clear. What's happening inside that building in terms of people being detained inside cages, and by the way, we weren't allowed to bring our cameras in, but we were given handout photos from Customs and Border Protection. This is the first time ever that children have been separated on a systematic basis. Look at those photos right there from their parents, and that is because of the Trump administration. People in here are locked up in cages.
And Jacob, you've been here for the last week. So many people on both sides of the aisle and faith leaders urging the president to reverse the policy, and I know you got some news.
We're just hearing the president has just said, I'm going to be signing something in a little while to keep families together, and he said that it'll be followed up later by a legislative fix.
Accepting his award, Jacob Soboroff.
Hi, everybody. I would also like to thank USC. I'm a Los Angeles native, so I'm proud to get this award from USC Annenberg, as well as the Norman Lear Center, and the judges, too. Congratulations, of course, to the other honorees, especially my colleague, Chuck Todd. When I was a toddler, my parents took a cardboard box, and they cut out a little square in the middle of it, and they put me inside, and I would sit in there and do news reports like I was on TV. And I still do it sometimes. Kind of weird. It's fun. I kept pretending to deliver reports on our home camcorder and then online and then on some random TV stations until 2015 when I met Phil Griffin, who walked me in to meet Andy Lack and Noah Oppenheim and asked if I wanted to do it for real. And honestly, it still does not, this doesn't feel real. So sincerely, to see my name anywhere near this year's all of the other Cronkite Award recipients, not to mention Walter Cronkite, it is mind-blowing. My folks, by the way, can attest to all of this because they're here today. My wife, Nicole, is here. I love you guys. Thank you for coming out from LA. And also, Alan Berger can back that up, too. I love you in a different way, the way that Chuck and Jake love Jay. I'm up here because the Trump administration illegally and systematically separated thousands of migrant children from their parents to scare other migrants from coming here to the United States. I saw it with my own eyes, and it is something that I will never forget for the rest of my life. Doctors say what Trump's policy did will result in lifelong trauma for those thousands of kids separated during the zero-tolerance period. And this story is not even close to being over. Just yesterday, a judge ordered the administration to, within the next 6 months, find and reunite an additional group of thousands of children that they didn't admit were separated in the first place. This just happened yesterday. thousands more. Ripping kids apart from their parents is a stated deterrent policy. It had never been done before, despite what you heard from the president, what you heard from the White House briefing room podium, what you heard from countless administration officials, and we heard it over and over again. So the question, we heard Marty pose here today, how should a free press respond when the news media are called the enemy of the people and facts are untethered from reality? I think it's simple. I think you show up. I think you take Chuck said the same thing. You take a look, you find the facts on the ground yourself, and then you keep telling the story over and over again of what you saw. Now, I didn't go to journalism school, actually, but I was an advanced guy for Mike Bloomberg, and that is what they teach you when you go to advanced man school. They say what you see, and if you don't know what you're talking about, say, I don't know what I'm talking about. And I say that sometimes, too. It is also the philosophy that guides all of the reporting I do. It wasn't just on this story, but everything with my partners and my producers, Mitch Koss and Arne Hakela. Thank you guys for being here as well and all the work that you guys do. It's not just Trump. More often than not, what we hear from politicians and in conversations on TV, sometimes even on our own network, bears no resemblance to what you actually see when you go out and you spend just a little bit of time looking around. But in order to do that, first you need to get actually the green light. And we wouldn't ever be out there. I wouldn't be up here if it wasn't for the leadership at NBC News and at MSNBC. From day one, I have been empowered to tell stories differently, and that comes from the top down. Andy Lack, Phil Griffin, Noah Oppenheim, Janelle Rodriguez, Betsy Corona, who's here, David Corvo, and the whole Dateline team has backed me up, so I appreciate that. I appreciate all of you guys. Thank you very much. Every one of those people had my back when I told them I wanted to rush to Brownsville, Texas on June 13th of last year to take a tour of a 250,000 square foot former Walmart that was housing over 1,000 undocumented migrant children, many of them who had been separated. And I said I wanted to do it without a camera, which is very unusual, but they said go. And they had my back when I came out to deliver that report. It was 7 minutes long in prime time on MSNBC. You don't want to give up that kind of airtime to somebody that doesn't have good pictures or have something to say, but they just said, go ahead and talk. And that's what I did. They had my back days after, too, in the second clip, when I toured the epicenter of family separations, and that was on Father's Day. And they did not tell me to hold back when I was thinking of my little boy, who at the time was 2.5, and I described the conditions that I saw inside. Babies sitting by themselves on concrete floors, under Mylar blankets, and guarded by a security contractor in a watchtower. It makes me sick to repeat it every time I repeat it and every time I remember being there. Eventually, after pressing, we did get handout pictures from the government. You saw some of those in the clip. And those are the only images that we have ever seen of the Trump administration's separations from the inside. And just days later, after an extraordinary amount of public pressure, not just from us, but from many other journalists and activists, the president decided he didn't like the policy that he put into place. Actually, what he said was he didn't like the images that were on television. And the only reason that we and other journalists were able to share with the American public what President Trump ultimately saw on TV was because we decided to show up. In the words of Walter Cronkite himself, he said, quote, "Our only job is to hold up the mirror to tell and show the public what happened." And that is exactly what we did and what we will continue to do. Thank you very much for this extraordinary honor. I appreciate it.